Episode 19 of Vandals, possibly the very last one before we head over to Istanbul. And it's a good one. I'm joined by none other than the IGL for 100 Thieves, Stellar. Dude, there's a lot that we can talk about. First off, I want to know, have you recovered from the 4-day gauntlet that you guys just went through?
No, we don't have time to either. We don't. We have no time. I think actually yesterday, our flight day back home from our boot camp, like that was kind of like our break day and today. And then I think, well, actually we start practice again today. Like we have a light practice this week, and then the next 2 weeks are like our big, like prep days. So
You just flew back from boot camp yesterday.
yeah, we won our match. Next day we fly back, or well, I flew back. I'm home now,
Oh, yeah.
and then today we're practicing again, and that's it. Call it
Un-
a day.
Unbelievable.
Unlucky schedule. Unlucky schedule. Luckily, we play on like the third day of the tournament, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, the matches are out. The first, the schedule's out. The matches are out. We're going to talk about your early matchup. We're going to talk about your group because it's a good one. But I wanted to congratulate you on obviously qualifying for Istanbul, for winning through LCQ. We touched on it being a gauntlet. You guys went through the ringer. I'm flabbergasted as to how you guys pulled it off. And I think, we've had a couple of IGLs on the show. We've talked to a lot of them in a number of different ways. And this interview is going to be fun because a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's actually been a couple months ago now, I had Sean on the show. It was fun to pick his brain from a coach's perspective, but now I get to pick your brain with some of that knowledge there. Stellar, as far as IGLing goes for 100 Thieves, would you say that you are both the emotional / motivational leader along with like the tactical shot caller, things like that, or is there someone else who fills that role? How does the dynamic work within the team?
Right. That's a good one. I think that's a good question because emotionally, I'm not. I don't think I'm that guy.
Sure.
Motivationally, I try to hype my team up as much as I can. I'm kind of like the pillar. Let's say there's like a middle ground, right? Let's say we're on a graph, and
Okay.
I'm trying to draw like a straight line. Like that's me. Like
Okay.
I'm just like I try to be the most calm, collected, and then there's motivational or there's emotional highs and emotional lows,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I try to keep those like off the graph as much as I can.
Okay.
And I mean that's kind of my role. I try to stay the most calm. I try to make sure my teammates are calm, and then obviously, yeah, in game, like I do the tactical stuff. I do. I mean, I do my best calling, right?
Well, sure.
Do what I can.
But someone has to be the peak in the line, right? Like there has to
Yeah,
be
yeah, no,
someone. Who is
yeah.
that for 100
I
Thieves?
have. It's the younger kids on my team. The stupid little kids. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, like the high highs usually come from like Bang, Will, sometimes Asuna, right? They're all like a little bit younger. Um, and they provide kind of like that high
Sure.
stuff. We've actually minimized a lot of like the lower points.
Hmm.
That does not happen often. At least it didn't in the tournament, thank God. Um, but I think those are kind of the guys that like will get the most hyped and they'll get the most excited, and they're kind of like they bring that energy for sure.
Sure. Well, you mentioned that there weren't very many lows, and you guys have gotten rid of a lot of them. The truth is, Stellar, there weren't very many reasons for lows. As the tournament went on, you guys hit a stride. You mentioned that you want to be the flat line, and
Yeah.
it's something that you intentionally try to be. What's the reasoning for that? Why be the stable pillar?
I just want to make sure my team feels like um, there's no pressure,
Mm,
there's nothing to panic over. We're not in a bad spot. And I think a lot of the times, from my experience, is if I'm kind of displaying that more emotional side, that'll
mm,
kind of bleed into how people are playing.
mm.
So I try to separate those completely. I try to be as professional as I can be, and just as stable as I can be while calling throughout a match. So I'm just trying to make sure my teammates are in a good spot mentally, and
Sure.
by that's just my way of doing it.
Sure, sure. You mentioned that level of stability and well, I can't say flatlining because that sounds like you're dead. That level of like emotional consistency bleeds itself into your calling, right? Into the tactical side of the calling. Talk to me a bit about the dynamic, the relationship between you, Mike's, and Sean specifically, namely from when you started this project on this team up until today. How have you seen that interaction, that relationship evolve amongst the three of you?
Right. So from the beginning, I think it was a little not weird, but we haven't really worked with each other yet. So I think we were kind of taking our time, like discovering what or how each other work.
Sure.
Um, it was pretty sloppy back then. We were all like meshing ideas like all over the place. We'd bounce off each other. We still do now, but it's a little bit more coordinated. I mean, I like to refer to Sean Gears as like the offensive coordinator for our team, and then Mike's kind of like the defensive coordinator. I mean, that's like literally what it kind of is and how it's
Sure.
split up. Like, Sean will bring us some ideas for attack, and then I'll give my input on some of them. Some of the players will give their input on some of them, and like we'll tweak them, and I'll be like, okay, this is how we should be doing it or not. And then same thing with defense. I'm not as big of like a defensive caller as probably other people are.
Mm.
I don't know why that is. I just feel like people like playing a certain way, especially when we have like an operator. Like I
Hmm.
kind of want the op to like they should feel super confident in what they're doing,
Yeah.
so they should be calling a lot of the time.
Hmm.
But if I have something to say, I will. But I mean, yeah, I mean that's just how it is now. It's like Sean Gears brings in a lot of attack stuff, does some prep work. Mike does some prep work as well, but he also brings in a lot of our defensive setups, how we should be rotating, how he plants the ideas in our head
Mm.
pretty much. They both do.
There was an interesting article. I don't remember where or who, so I'm
It's on
sorry
it's
to whoever
online.
it was. Yeah, it was
It's
somewhere on
online.
the internet, um, where it was an interview with Sean, and one of the things that he mentioned actually was that Mike's just doesn't get enough love. Man, the guy does not get enough credit for the work that he does, for the impact that he has on the team. Um, I already saw your reaction, which would suggest that you agree with that. He tends to
Yeah.
kind of like hang out behind the scenes. Why do you think he doesn't get the love that he deserves?
I just think it's because obviously, I mean, much love to Sean. He's such a big figure
Right.
in the TAC FPS scene, and
Sure.
like it's hard not to like mention him
Yeah.
when you think of like strategy, coaching, IGLing, any of that. It's hard to not think that Sean Gears isn't doing everything.
Hmm.
I don't blame people for thinking that way at all, but I obviously like Mike deserves a ton of credit. Even Dan DDK deserves a ton of credit. I think people are slowly realizing that I'm the one actually calling in game, not Sean Cares. But I mean that's just how it is, and that's fine. But yeah, Mike, much love to Mike. He does a lot of work.
He's a stud. Um, when we had Sean on the show, one of the things that came up in conversation was you specifically, and one of the things that he highlighted about you, which he thought was really impressive, was how well you shine in your mid-round calling. Now, that does kind of align with some of the conversation you and I were having earlier about you on attack and how that just feels a bit more comfortable for you. But would you agree with that statement that mid-rounding is really where you shine?
Yeah, I think that was kind of my strong suit, at least coming into the team.
Mm.
Was kind of how well I was able to mid round for previous teams. I think like LG was like a good example. Like I think I only had mid rounding during LG, and like I mean we kind of did whatever back then, and then like something would happen, and I'd make a good call based on what we were doing. Same thing with Soar, except my early round calling got a little bit better on that team.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I feel like the mid round's kind of like feels more counter strikey
Mm-hmm.
to a sense because there's less utility out on the field that you have to worry about because a lot of people do throw a lot of util out in the early round.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like push and pull. You get to focus on like rotations, what map control you do and don't have. You don't have to worry about too much, and it's like I don't know. It's like super on the fly kind of stuff, and I don't know.
Well, and
Feels like I'm just decent at it.
that on the flyness, if you will,
Yeah.
I feel like so much of that works well when you have a good read, right, on the opposing IGL and what the opposing team is doing. How much of that aspect of IGLing do you think gets lost in the grand scheme of things? The reading your opponents, to the looking for tells, and to trying to get a step ahead of their setups.
Um, I mean, like separate. Are you asking like separated from like what's it called, like pre-match like kind of work?
Yeah, yeah. That like you're on the fly, you're kind of reading what cards are in front of you, and you're deciding that around that. It often feels like, from a spectator's perspective, it feels like a chess match in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
No, 100%. I mean, a lot of it comes down to, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the only person that mid rounds on my
Sure,
team at
sure, sure,
all,
sure.
obviously. But I mean, a lot of it comes down to my teammates giving the information,
Mm,
right? Like, you can make a lot of educated guesses on certain things based off of utility being used, based off agents in certain
mm.
locations, numbers in certain locations. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, you could see like three sets of utility on a bomb site and be like, I'm not going to this bomb site anymore. There's 3 people here, right? Like that's a good educated guess that you can make.
Sure.
Um, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all educated guesses, right?
Right.
And inferring and making, a good assumption. I mean, I think my intuition's pretty good. I grew up playing Counter-Strike, focusing on intuition and game sense.
Mm.
I watched a lot of like Steel videos, Dazed videos back in the day. I mean, they're still good videos.
Yeah,
I'll
they
be
are.
honest.
Yep.
They're good for beginners. I think that's kind of where it stems from.
You've mentioned that your mid round calling is exceptional. Your intuition is on point. Where have you seen yourself improve the most from the beginning of your time on 100 Thieves up until today?
I think probably my early round calling,
Mm,
giving people a plan for the whole round versus kind of like on LG and SOAR, I kind of let people default, or I'd call like a very basic early round, and then we'd kind of play off of that. But now I've evolved and like I'm able to give a good plan for like a lot of the round. Also micromanaging a little bit more because I used to not micromanage people at all, but now it's become a little easier to kind of tell people just to do like minor adjustments like here or there, like I
hmm
want you to like be here and do this like at a certain time. And I think those are kind of like the main things I've improved on recently.
The early round calling, the being a bit more particular about setups and micromanaging to an extent. Would you say that a lot of that stems from you're just more confident, like more confident in your role, more confident in the read, more confident in the pieces around you?
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. It's definitely, I do have a lot of confidence in my teammates to be doing the right things at the right times, but I think also just learning to understand my teammates over time has gotten me comfortable with doing it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously Sean has helped me a lot. Mike has helped me a lot with like minor things in terms of calling. So I mean, I do have to credit them. Over
Sure.
the last, I don't know how long we've been a team. 3 months, 2 months. I
Has
don't even
it
remember.
only been that?
It's
Nah, surely it's
we
been
made
longer.
it was no, no, no. It was before, it was like 3 weeks before the Copenhagen qualifier, I think, or 2 weeks.
That's wild.
And then we did like the 2 or 3 weeks of practice. We did the Copenhagen qualifier, which hindsight, I think we could have qualified for that event
Hmm,
if we had a little bit more match experience.
sure.
And then, yeah, so it was like 2.5 months, 3 months. I'd say like 3 months.
We'll go with 3 months. From 3 months ago until today, the glow up has been outrageous. You
Yeah, it's
just
been
made your way
crazy.
through LCQ. So I want to transition over to that a little bit. You start the
Yeah.
match, you start the tournament, and your first three matches go the distance. They go to map threes. All three of them, you lose. You lose the first map. Sometimes it was your map pick. Sometimes it wasn't.
hmm
What was the issue with slow starts? What was going on?
I feel like our communication was pretty off, and I mean energy. We were kind of like rusty. We didn't play a match since
Yeah, it had been
whenever the
an
Copenhagen
eternity.
qualifier,
Yeah.
right? It was like a month,
Yeah, it'd been
no
way long.
matches, month and a half, zero matches. So I mean that played into it partially.
Mhm.
Obviously, I don't want to blame entirely that. That's like a cop out. Like you don't want to do that.
No, but it does matter, right?
Yeah, yeah, it plays a little part,
Yeah.
but um, I think it was just lack of communication, or sometimes we had a problem with over communicating, like
Mm.
things that didn't necessarily need to be calmed, or like
Mhm,
we'd
mhm.
repeat them a lot. So I think after those first few matches, that was like kind of our main focus coming into the second set of matches, where the comp significantly improved, and obviously, I think it kind of showed in our play.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think I don't know. I think we should have 2-0'd like all of those teams that we played. I'll be honest.
And I mean, you hit a hot hand towards the end, and we'll talk about that next. But I've got to pause here because I just remembered um, and I don't know how I forgot this while I was getting this together. I've got to ask you about the second half of Ascend. What?
Against FaZe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? 9-3 half. What
We
happened?
should have rolled them. Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we were doing were like super off spawn, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
whether I made the right calls or not. Um, but I think our timings got messed up a little bit, and that threw us off a lot. Like the one round, Baby Bay was bottom mid, and our smoke faded. And in
Mm.
practice, the smoke didn't fade by the time we were up cat, so
Yeah.
we got three piece. Nobody looked at it, right?
Yeah.
Like it was rounds like that. It was like the really, really tiny stuff that amounted to us getting like three piece, like on four different gun rounds, and we just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah. Especially against a team like FaZe that it
Yeah,
oftentimes feels so momentum driven, right? Like it
yeah,
just
no,
it just
hundred
kind of
percent.
felt like it was inevitable up until a certain point. But you deal with that, right? It's not great, but fortunately, it's a double elimination bracket. You have 3 sweeps to close out the tournament. So you start with everything going the distance. You don't win them all, and it's just something clicks. And again, you sweep the last 3, including the best of 5 lowers, and then the grand finals. Was it really just comms that changed? Was that really it?
I think for the most part, yeah. I think cleaning up our comms was a big thing. I think beating C9 was the second big factor into our next two games. C9 was one of our scrim partners, and they've always not they've always beat us in scrim.
Sure.
Sometimes they'd like thrash us in scrim. Sometimes it'd be like super close, but they'd still win. Obviously, the score doesn't matter that much, but it still like plays into a part where you scrim a team and you're like, we literally can't beat these guys, even if we wanted. Like if we played to win, like we don't know what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think getting over that hump, like we saw them as like kind of our most not feared team, but like the most difficult team we'd have to play. And
Mm.
2-0ing them, I think, kind of propelled that into the next two games. But a lot of it did have to do with comms. Like we were a lot more concise. We were a lot more relaxed. We weren't making things hectic when they didn't need to be.
Yeah.
And I think that made our teamwork a lot better, and we meshed a lot better in all of those series, and it showed.
There were outrageous pop off moments from individual players throughout the tournament, right? Like, but again, towards the end is when everything just kind of clicked. Man, I think about Bang not letting anyone onto his site on Ascent. It was just like he was a wall, right? And there was
It's
no way in.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Will turned it on from the beginning of the tournament up until the end. Those are a couple that come to mind, but was there someone in particular that you feel like stood out as far as most improved from the beginning of the tournament to the end? Did everyone just start playing better, or was there someone that stood out to you?
From the beginning of the tournament to the end,
Yeah,
I mean, I'd probably just give it up to Will.
yeah.
Like he gets way too much hate for what he's doing.
Hmm.
And I think something like clicked in a mid tournament. Obviously, I don't know because I haven't talked to him directly about this,
Sure, sure.
but from my perspective, something kind of clicked where he kind of just stopped caring about that stuff, and he stopped caring about like needing to like frag out and whatever. And like, yeah, I think he remembered that he just needed to do his job.
Hmm.
And like, if he was fragging good, right? Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
If he's not, who cares? Like, we're
Yeah,
winning the games.
yeah.
And he did a really good job like playing his role no matter what. Like, even if he was fragging, if he like was playing okay, he did a phenomenal job in my opinion, like being a really good teammate. So I think that was probably the most standout um, improvement from the tournament.
What was
And then
interesting.
obviously, like,
Oh, go
I mean,
ahead.
I
Sorry.
gotta I gotta shout out like all my teammates. Like, I can't
Right, of
just,
course.
like Bang, obviously insane. He multi-kill legend on a bomb site. I don't know how he does it, but he does. Derek won like 90 clutches. Peter, I mean, he brings the intensity. He wins rounds that we probably shouldn't. So, I mean, shout out everybody obviously on my team.
I want to go back to the will bit because it was interesting watching. I casted, I think, all but one of your matches this tournament for whatever
Yeah,
reason. Um, it was fascinating to watch because you seldom get an opportunity to do that, right? To like watch a team from beginning of the tournament almost all the way to the very end. Um, and it was so interesting to watch as you went through some of the early tournament struggles. Yeah, Will was a large part of the discussion, but what was most interesting was that it never felt like his confidence changed as far as his positioning, as far as like what he was trying to do. Like he could have been 0 and 36 and he was still going to take that aggressive angle and ascent mid, right? From arches. None of that ever changed for him, and that kind of dovetails into the next question that I have for you is the change that was very evident for 100 Thieves leading into LCQ is there was a whole lot more chamber. A whole lot more chamber. Was
yeah.
there a reason for leaning into that pick other than, of course, Chambers broken, or at
Very
least he
strong,
was? Yeah.
very strong agent, right? So I think beforehand, I mean, I still think this. I'll just say that before I keep talking. I don't think Chambers needed by any means on any map,
Hmm.
regardless of how good he is. I think when people say you need a chamber, that is probably one of the most like bullshit things I've ever heard in my life. Need is such a strong word. You don't need him.
Yeah. Well, hang
Can
on
he
though.
help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you go further, would you say that about any agent on any like is that just the state of Valorant that no agent is ever necessary on a map, or is that more chamber specific?
It's more chamber specific.
Okay. Fair.
I do think other agents have a lot more useful utility.
Okay.
Chambers is very reliant on, getting set up and getting picks a lot of the time. And that's the only reason I say it. It's just is from like a utility perspective, you don't need him, right?
Sure.
Like he doesn't have a lot of it. Obviously very dependent on the player.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sure. If you're phase, you probably always want him.
Mm-hmm.
Dicey, nasty on the chamber.
He's a freak.
If
Yeah.
you're team like, I don't know, like Optic, might as well use him. Yeah, he's disgusting on chamber,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't know. You could probably replace him with other agents, no matter what.
Mm.
Doesn't matter. And that's kind of the way I was thinking about it. And a lot of people on the team, like, I mean, we all agreed on comps, right? Like, I didn't make the comps. Sean Gares then isn't
Mm-hmm.
the only one that made the comps from before. But coming into the switch was kind of not a discussion of chamber, but more of like the operator,
Mm.
and us using the operator more kind of led to us using chamber more, and
Sure.
that's they kind of went hand in hand. So that's kind of the reason why.
Another thing that was kind of interesting is again we talk about watching 100 Thieves throughout the entire tournament was it felt like there was a lot of depth to your map pool. I think I maybe two or three of all of the series that you played, you guys banned the same map. Other than that, it was rotating. Again, it felt like there was a lot of versatility, and that allowed you to be much more strategic in the pick and ban process of your matches. Was this a major focus point leading up to LCQ? Is this something you guys were intentionally working on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had a lot of time to develop our map pool. I mean, I think last um qualifier we had a pretty good map pool.
Yeah.
I don't think Ascent was great for us, but we could play it. Haven wasn't amazing. We could play it, but we'd rather not. But now, we did put a focus on those maps, like the weaker maps, and we brought them up. It was funny because a lot of our bad maps became our best maps, and a lot of our best maps became like our worst maps in practice.
Hmm.
Um, but now I mean, we're 100% confident on every single map we play. We were ready to play split at a moment's notice in the qualifier if we needed to. Obviously, we couldn't get scrims, so it's like you didn't really want to pick it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't want to pick it because of that, but if we had to, we would have played it 100%. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just how it worked out. I think we had control of the veto almost every single series that we played, which
Yeah.
helped a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think I'm trying to think, what series did we not? Kind of the guard because they had two bans in the grand final. They
Yeah.
banned our two best maps in the tournament.
Well, but even
Um,
then, that's a testament to some of the work that you guys were putting in, right? I think it was. I saw
yeah,
another quote. I believe it was Asuna, who essentially said like they banned our two best maps and we still 3-0'd them. Like, what are we
yeah,
talking about
100%.
here?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, in the tournament, yeah, like Breeze was our best map. I think we smoked every team on Breeze. Bind, we only got to play once because I don't think a lot of people like Bind, but it's like one of our really good maps, and it always has been. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we just had control of the veto like
Yep.
super often. I think maybe Cloud9 was the only team that we felt like we didn't as much. But other than that, I think you know, we were able to pick and choose. Like we had all the vetoes planned before we played teams, and like I think they ended up exactly how we planned them almost every single time. So definitely helped a lot.
And maybe, I mean, again, it's proof, right? Like you saw it, three
Yeah.
sweeps in a row, two of them best of fives. Prep has been such a big part of the conversation for 100 Thieves, right? When 100 Thieves have time to prep, they seem to be better than when they don't. Do you think that that narrative almost has to change now, given that you won 4 matches in a row, two of them best of fives, all while in the lower bracket?
Yeah, actually, I hate that narrative so much. It's, I mean, it's like funny because people are like, "Oh, Sean Gare's prep time, like they're gonna win, or whatever." Like Sean and Mike get to prep for a week, but like we really don't do that much like anti-stratting at
Sure.
all. We really don't. Like, obviously, I watch how other teams play. We have a few notes here and there. Maybe we might have like one like super like hard counter to what they're doing, like for a round,
Yeah.
but like we don't like have a whole like game plan set to like anti-strat a team. Like that it's like unrealistic in Valorant. I mean we do play the way we like to play as much as we can. We try not to focus too much on what other teams are doing unless we think it'd be a problem for us.
Hmm.
Um I mean, yeah, the prep helps,
Oh,
but
sure.
I think it's a little overkill on what people think we actually do.
And now, again, at this point, it kind of has to change a bit, right? Because if that was the
Yeah.
one thing that people go, well, 100 Thieves isn't great. They don't run chamber, or Will is maybe not a very strong chamber. And, oh, 100 Thieves doesn't succeed unless they have a lot of time to prep. They can't win back to back days. It
Yeah.
feels like you guys silenced all of that across, what, 4 days, really?
Yeah, we had Thursday to Sunday. Every day was a game. We played every single day. We had pretty much like the morning of to like go and watch VODs if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we just played every single game.
Let's talk Istanbul, which was the prized possession. Again, that's what everyone was fighting
Yeah.
for. Now, Stellar, North American teams have historically struggled the first time they find themselves on the international stage. 100 Thieves has been here before, but you've almost had an entire facelift, right? Austin is the only one who's played on stage at an international Valorant event. As IGL, how do you make sure that this team doesn't run into those same issues, knowing you have some young guys on your team too?
I mean, I think the main takeaway from that is like we just got to focus on knowing that a lot of people didn't even think we can make it, right? Like
Yeah, that's
a lot
fair.
of people don't even think we'll win
Yeah.
any games. A lot of people think we'll go 2. There's zero, and I mean zero pressure on us to perform whatsoever. Like we made the LAN. That is greater than any expectation that I think anybody has set on us from the beginning of the team to now. So like we're going and we're gonna have fun. We're going
Sure.
and we're gonna play how we want to play, win or lose, and that's just the way I want to look at it. That's the way I think my teammates should look at it, and we'll just have a good time and see what happens.
Was that slightly different from your mental approach in LCQ?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, obviously the pressure. Oh, the pressure's on. Obviously, we want to do well. There's only one slot.
Right.
I think a lot of my teammates understood that we can qualify, but
Hmm.
it's just a matter of doing it. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that we were lacking skill or strategy or depth or whatever because we
Hmm.
weren't. We did a ton of prep. We worked very hard, and it was just a matter of showing it. And I think we finally got to show it, and now we get to have a good time.
You are gonna get to show it again. And you're gonna get to show it against Fnatic, right? The groups
Yeah.
came out earlier today. The matches came out, and you. We'll talk about your group in a moment. But your opener is against Fnatic. Might be the most loved team in EU.
Yeah, no, seem like great guys.
Yeah, lay it all out for me. I know that you've kind of mentioned that you want to have like a looser, let's have fun, let's just go, we're going to do our thing and kind of see what happens. But talk to me about that matchup specifically. I'm guessing you haven't had very much time to think about it at all, so I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
talk to
I
me.
just saw them all today. I'm just excited to be able to play against these teams that
Mm,
aren't from North America, right? I've played every single North American team from tier 1 to tier 3. I know like all the players. And now we get to finally test ourselves on how good we actually can be, right? On a stage, I mean, that just explains it all. Like I don't think I'm scared to play any of the teams at the LAN because I mean, I've never played against them or
sure.
anybody from the region, right? There's no fear there. I mean, I've seen how they played before. They're very they have good defensive setups. They have really good game plans. They have Dirk on LAN, right? Like top 3 LAN player.
Huh?
Um, but I mean, that's about it, right? Like
Yeah,
I could see us playing them and winning. I could see us and losing, or us playing them and losing, right?
yeah.
I think skill wise, like they're not that far off from us, right? It's just a matter of us getting into the match, being ready, and playing our own game.
You guys seem to draw a lot of like viewership in your matches. You think about some of the record-breaking matches that we've had that you guys were in. There's a really good chance we get something else shattered when it comes to 100 Thieves
Yeah,
and
that's
Fnatic.
wild.
It's
It's
just
actually wild to think about. I mean, like the Sen game was like what lower bracket round like 2, and I had like
too, yeah,
500,
yeah.
600,000 total like viewership.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And then you
That's
put in
insane.
like Durka
That's so
and
insane.
Boaster and like his walkouts, and all of a sudden you guys are
Yeah.
gonna break the internet.
Oh, the Riot walkouts. No, uh,
You gotta prep
I don't
for
want to
those,
think.
bro.
Yeah, they're gonna make you do them. That's for sure.
Listen, would you say there's a group of death in this tournament?
No,
No.
I don't think so. I
Don't-
think every single. Actually, let me go look at the groups again. I need to re up. I've only looked at them like one time.
And you've got Fnatic. You
Yeah,
have
no, we have a tough group.
yep,
That's for sure.
DRX, and
We have
then
a tough
who's the
one.
fourth one? It's you, Fnatic,
Furia,
DRX, and yeah.
Furia.
I mean,
Let me look. Group A. I mean, that's a tough group right there. Like Paper X, EDG.
yeah.
Leviathan had a good,
Mm-hmm.
very good performance last LAN. People were expecting not as much from them. Liquid, glad they could be back on LAN. Don't know how good they'll actually be at LAN. No idea. Paper XL team. I mean, that's a good group, right?
Yeah.
Then Optic Loud group, like, I mean,
The stories, bro. The
2 weeks.
script is already written.
Yeah, the Riot planned that one out from the beginning. I already know this is not random groups. There's no way. But I mean, like, I could see our group in like. Here, let me keep looking. Group C, FPX Crew, Xset Xersha. Yeah, I mean it's like all the groups are like pretty similar in a sense where it's like you have 2 like more consistent LAN teams like us as like DRX and Fnatic. They've been extremely consistent on LAN throughout
Hmm.
the last 2 years. And then there's like, the LCQ teams, and there's
Right.
Fury and us.
The wild
And
cards.
then,
Yeah.
there's Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Crew versus FPX, that's gonna be an insane match. Xset Xersha, same kind of skill level in my opinion, same kind of vibe. Then Boom Zeta right in the group B.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's pretty similar across the board. I think Group A's matches are going to be the most wild matches
Mm.
to watch in my opinion. Like those are going to be exciting games, like 100%. But I think there's no group of death. I think they're all really hard. I think every team here is obviously good, and they've proven that they can be good,
Sure.
and they deserve to be here. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
You mentioned that Group A is probably the most exciting, and we'll find out here in a little bit. But one of the other interesting wrinkles to this tournament, not just that it's champs, not just that it's 16 teams, not the format. There's no like group stage and then knockout stage. Like everyone starts in the same place. We also need to talk about Pearl, right? You go back
Yeah.
to it was champs last year, right? That Fracture was introduced, and it was picked by Fnatic, I think, on the first day of the tournament.
They put C9 on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, now, and I want to say that went to overtime too. It was like 14-12. Fnatic
Yeah,
won
there's
something
a
like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they barely won.
yeah.
Let me go look at how many times I've played Fractured in Ranked to this act, and I'll go tell you exactly how many maps of or not Fractured Pearl
Pearl.
that I've played. I have 11 maps of Pearl under my belt in Ranked. That's all I know about the map. I have not looked at it one time, but you better damn well know that I'll be a Pearl master in the next like 3 weeks. So
That's about all the time you've got, bro.
that's it.
Uh,
That's all we got. I have a 30% win rate ranked on it. All right,
bro,
that's
I
tough. That's
tweeted out the
tough.
other day. I don't think I've won. I don't think I've won a map on Pearl. I don't think I've
No,
won a
that's
single
a
match on Pearl
it's
yet.
a weird map. I actually don't like that map that much.
Well, I
I think
actually,
it's
yeah,
different because it's ranked, but like,
sure.
you know, it's whatever.
Tell me more because I did want to get your thoughts on Pearl in general.
Right. Bomb sites, they're all right. B, not that great in my opinion.
Mm,
A little too open,
mm,
kind of like Icebox esque. When you really think about it, which
mm-hmm.
I mean, those bomb sites, they've gotten a little better, thank God.
But people love Icebox, bro.
I don't know why. I hate that map so
Oh,
much.
me
I'll
too.
be honest.
Me too. I can't stand
Especially in matches. But we play. We're good at it, so don't take it against us, please. Fnatic, I know. Oster, I know you're listening. I know you like Icebox. Good luck. We have Asuna. Um, yeah, Pearl. I don't know. I just like there's so many like little corners and like corridors and like little like alleyways, especially when you go towards like the A half of the map. It just feels
Yeah.
so like congested.
It's like a labyrinth.
Yeah, like that weird like it's just like the connector, like part of the map from defense spawn
Hmm.
where like that little way is,
Hmm.
like that goes to, like a connector. I feel like that's like a weird part of the map that
Yeah.
like makes all the rotations like quick but like quirky because like the alleyways. But I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's a weird map. I haven't scrimmed it. I can't wait to scrim it. I can't wait to come up with some comps for it too. I'll be cringe with it, I guess. Like it's the only way we could play it.
Do you think we'll see it early? Do you think it'll be banned out pretty consistently throughout the tournament? What are your thoughts?
Probably. I would assume so. I think a lot of people will probably stick to what they know as much as they can, especially the LCQ teams that we're all playing.
Sure.
Um, we'll see it eventually. It'll slip up somewhere in like a weird matchup. Probably like two European teams will play each other and play it.
Mm.
But I don't know. I gotta play it. Maybe we'll pick it. I don't know. Maybe we're really good on Pearl. Who knows?
Speaking of prep, speaking of practicing scrims, what have you, there are a couple of teams who either are leaving today or left yesterday to
Yeah.
Bootcamp. Does 100 Thieves, given the fact that you probably haven't even unpacked, are there plans for 100 Thieves to
Barely.
Bootcamp?
No, I don't think we have time. I mean, we gotta leave.
And
I
you
think
leave in
next
what, a
week,
week? Yeah.
like a week. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Rad has us flying out in like a week, so we don't really have time to. I think a lot of the teams are going there because there's like not that many scrims in NA. There's like
Hmm.
a ton of teams on break.
Hmm.
Um, but that's fine. Like I don't think we need the boot camp that much.
Hmm.
Like when we get there, we'll practice, and that's like our quality practice. But like this week is kind of like not a cool down, but it's like kind of keeping us fresh to some degree. But yeah, boot camp can't do it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and again, you guys just got back. You mentioned you haven't even fully unpacked, and you
Yeah,
guys just went through a massive boot
I've
camp
gone
as
on I've
well.
gone on 3 boot camps since I've been on this team.
Yeah,
Three.
in three
I've been
months or two months. What do
I
you say?
think I've been home for like 3 weeks total since I've been signed to this team. I'm not even kidding. I've been in Dallas, Texas more than I have been at home being signed to 100 Thieves. It isn't a bad thing. I'm glad like it paid off, but it just goes to show like, we put in a lot of work in
and
these
it
last few months.
well, and it often goes unseen, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
Stellar, I try to make a point to do this at the end of every episode, but especially knowing the fan base that you and I were just talking about, shattering viewership records, really all over the place. I want to give you an opportunity to drop any love that you may have to the 100 Thieves fans as you prep for Istanbul.
Right. I mean, just shout out to all the people that have stayed consistently positive throughout our whole time, right? There's a lot of people out there who've been actually very negative and, you know, they've spread hate to me and my teammates, and they're not like, I don't really view them as like true fans. But shout out to all the true fans. They've stayed super positive. I know there's a lot of people that message me and give me love, and I appreciate all of you. And keep cheering us on for Istanbul. We need all the help we can get.
Stellar. Again, congratulations on winning LCQ. Congratulations on qualifying to Istanbul. Best of luck to you in the tournament. That's going to do it for this episode of Vandals. I think we have 19 in the books. We'll see if we can squeeze one more in before we fly. Probably not. But we'll see. Thank you all so much for hanging out, for watching the episode. If you dig the content, engage with the channel, as you know to do. But we will catch you guys next time.
Bye, guys.